Well, we're continuing in our series that we started last week, a journey through the scriptures as we are looking at breaking down the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation. It's an incredible book, the Bible. Thousands of years old, lots of different writers that didn't even know each other, different cultures, different time periods, different ways of communicating. But the one thing that's common is the Lord. And the Lord has woven these writers and together, and prophetic things or utterances in Isaiah are played out in the life of Jesus. And there's just like thousands of years in between, and there's no way, no connection to each other. But God has worked it together. So you can trust the scriptures. And as we grow, now we're, like I said last week, we're not doing a verse by verse study. We're doing some books, and we're right now locked into the book of Genesis. And so you haven't missed much, but we want you to connect and do something special. If you haven't had read the Bible, you should do that. You should get a Bible and read it from cover to cover. You can do a chronological Bible, which takes you through the times, and it gives you a sequence in which things happen. So it's a great study. And so we're going to do that today just by walking through some kind of high points and notes. And we left off last week with Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel are two brothers, the descendants of Adam and Eve. Cain kills his brother Abel because of jealousy in his own heart. It's not because he has a need or food or clothing or shelter, or medicine. He has everything that he needs to be content, but he won't honor God at the standard in which God has established. And so he's frustrated, and he lets that emotion overtake him, and he kills his brother Abel. And Abel's blood is crying out for justice from the ground, crying out for mercy as well. And Cain receives both of those from the Lord. God judges him, and he's a wanderer, but he says, please, the people are going to kill me. And he puts a mark on him so that they can't kill him, and Cain goes on. That's just the nature of God, is that he is a faithful giver and one that reflects genuine compassion for other people. That is in our hearts as well, because we are children of the Most High God. So let's pick the story back up in the book of Genesis. Genesis 10:1. I just want to read this to you because it's important. It says, I'm sorry, Genesis 6:9. Genesis chapter 6, verse 9. Let's pick the story up in Genesis 6:9. It says, these are the family records of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among his contemporaries, and Noah walked with God. The time here of Cain and Abel, you fast forward a ton of years, and there's just wickedness on the planet. And God is frustrated with man because everything he does is just no good. We have just lost our way from the beginning when God created us in his image and likeness, and now we are just not doing right at all. And the planet is corrupt, and angels have come in, demonic spirits, and there's just an engagement of perversion that has populated the whole planet, and God sees nothing but wickedness. And when he looks at us, he wants to see some level of joy and peace, and he created us to be like him, to be fruitful and multiply, instead have dominion and subdue things and overcome. We're just wicked, and it's just bad. And he gives some thought to destroying the planet, but there's always the heart of God to try to find, if he can, something, a reason or a person that he can use to bring deliverance. He's always looking for some level of deliverance. He's always looking for a way to bless. He's always looking for something, even in your own house, that's good. And so you should adopt that behavior in your own life. You can come in and be mad and antagonistic and talk trash. I'm sick and tired of your people. Or you can come in there and with a spirit of compassion and understanding, and be nice and have a smile and be kind and demonstrate the fruit of the Spirit. Sometimes if you have a behavior of being angry all the time or frustrated or chip on your shoulder, you have to take a pass. What I mean by that is if I'm going to step into a new environment and I know I'm already a rear end, then I'm get a Snickers bar or a piece of candy or some bubble gum and there's something. So I don't just can't blurt out what I think needs to be said. I have some moments to muse on it, to consider it. You know, you might gain a few pounds doing that with eating so much candy. That just means you need to change your ways. But the presence of God comes and he brings blessing to us and strengthens us. But in this environment, they're just wicked. And everybody's wicked. And so God is going to bring correction. These are the, Genesis 6:9. These are the family records of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among his contemporaries, and Noah walked with God. And Noah's fathered 3 sons. Here's his sons: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with wickedness. And God saw how corrupt the earth was, for every creature had corrupted its way on the earth. Can you imagine that? Now, the earth is bad even now. We've done so many wicked and evil things. It's unbelievable. Not all the books can contain the junk that humanity does against humanity. But at least you can still find on the earth some goodness, some people who bless others, and some kindness. But in this environment, he says everything is corrupt. The whole earth is corrupt. Everybody he's looking for is corrupt. For every creature had corrupted its way on the earth. Then God said to Noah, I have decided to put an end to every creature, for the earth is filled with wickedness because of them. Therefore, I am going to destroy them along with the earth. So, the earth is just a bad place right now. It's a lot of stuff, and it's bad now. You say, well, the earth is bad now. There's a lot of wickedness and perversion. Yeah, it is. There are issues, but not like it was then. Even in our worst days, there's still somebody on this planet whose heart is pure and trying to do what's right and make a difference in somebody else's life. And there's a church or an environment where people are reaching out, a hospital, and the people are caring for other people. So God is with us, and he's for us. And Jesus has come and redeemed us. So stay the course. Be okay. In this kind of environment, though, God sees just corruption, but he sees Noah. And so when God sees good in the midst of bad, he has to respond to the good. Even though the bad may be greater than the good, he has to respond to the good. I mean, God's going to respond to the good things that are in your heart or in your life that you're trying to bless and help and encourage. Even though there might be some bad moments and some difficult times and some seasons that you're going, I can't believe this. Come on, you hang in there with God. God will find a way. He's the miracle worker. And when he's finished working it out, it's going to work out for your favor. And God's going to have used you to do some great things that he does. That's just his way. Because remember, we learned last week, we're created in the image of God, in his likeness, to look like him, talk like him, act like him, be like him. And he released a blessing into our lives for us to be fruitful, to multiply, to replenish the earth, subdue it, and have some measure of rule, dominion, to be strong and mighty. And so that hasn't changed, and God's going to fulfill that, and he's going to fulfill that through you. So be encouraged by that. God remembered Noah, as well as all the wildlife and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. Genesis 8:1. God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the water began to subside. Now, the whole earth now has been flooded. You know the story. And God's brought rain for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, he's not in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights. He's in the ark for a year. He's in the ark. Listen now, you're talking about a cruise ship. Talking about a cruise. How about a cruise where you're on the water for a year? And this ain't a cruise. This is not a pleasure cruise. He's taken 2 of every type of animal on the boat. So you got animals on the boat, and you got humans on the boat, but the only humans on the boat is his family. Him, his wife, his children. No one else is on the boat but animals. Because God has a design to repopulate the planet through Noah. So he saves the planet through the people that Noah brings and the animals that Noah brings on the ark. And he brings them 2 by 2, male and female. Why? Because to be fruitful and multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion, you have to have male and female. Anything else is the opposite of that. It's a derivative, a demonic derivative of truth and of righteousness and of prosperity and God's blessing. Because everything will produce after its own kind. And so he brings the animals in to reproduce other animals after their own kind. And he brings humans in because this is his family, and they're going to reproduce after their own kind. And so the design is that the whole planet would be repopulated through the seed of Adam found through Noah. And so this whole process goes on. And so Noah is now in the boat, and it's raining, and it's tough. And it rains the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And it's not like gentle rain. It's hard rain. It's stormy rain. It's rain that not only fills the earth, fills the valleys, it fills the mountains, till that there's no land in sight. You know how hard it's got to rain for 40 days where you can't even see any more land? It rains hard, and it rains consistently, and it is storming. And not only just rain, God opens up some canyons, and he brings these deluges, massive amounts of water. And it's just unbelievable. Can you imagine being in a tough spot? Sometimes right now we're in this COVID-19, and we're like, oh, man, it's so tough. I have to look at this every day, and I don't have any place to go. And man, this is not drama. That's drama. This is not hardship. Hardship's not running down to Walmart or the local grocery store because you need to get out of the house. This is hardship. This is where there's no place else to go. And you know that everybody that you've ever known that's been on the planet is now gone. And the only people alive are the people on the boat, the animals, and my family. But God remembers Noah, as well as all the wildlife and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. And God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the water began to subside. Yay. And I love about the Lord, you're always going to find when God's involved, there's going to be a stream of hope that's alive because he's going to intervene. At some point in time, God's going to intervene. If you're in a difficult place right now, promise you this, God's going to intervene. If you'll ask him to intervene, he'll intervene. If you'll have some faith that he'll intervene, he'll intervene. If you're rebellious and no good, he'll still intervene. You may not get the best, but he's going to intervene. He always is going to intervene if you'll call out to him. The sources of the watery depths and the floodgates of the sky were closed, and the rain from the sky stopped, and the water steadily receded from the earth, and by the end of 150 days, the water had decreased significantly. The ark came to rest in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month on the mountains of Ararat. Now, the rain started on in the first month, first day of the first month. It's not January, but that's our calendar. This calendar would be about March, April, because the first of the month was between somewhere in March and April in a different calendar, the Hebrew calendar. And so, in fact, their first of the month started for the Hebrews with Passover when they were in slavery in Egypt. And so this is built upon the timing of that, even though the actual day may be a little different. But the ark came to rest in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the mountains, the tops of the mountains were visible. Yea. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent out a raven and went back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Now let's skip down to verse 13. Let's jump to verse 13. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, on the 1st day of the month, the water that had covered the earth was dried up. Then Noah removed the ark's cover and saw that the surface of the ground was drying. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was dry. So you see that there's processes of time here. Time is going on. It's not instantly dry. Not God goes, and the earth is dry. It just has to dry according to the normal process. There are things in your own life that just happen in the course of process. It just takes time. Don't get frustrated with it. Don't get angry. Don't quit early. It just takes time. God's going to fulfill certain things. It just takes time. There are things that the time is condensed, where God just does it quickly or supernaturally, and he does those things. And there are certain things that God just does because he's God, that there's no way that that's going to happen, no matter how much time it takes. It's just impossible. But God, who's the miracle worker, he's the way maker. He can do whatever he wants to do because he's God. But he'll do it according to his word, according to his promise, according to his declared reality. And he expects us to get in agreement with him and for him to produce that. He'll heal you. He'll restore. He'll set free. He'll change your heart. He'll make something happen that there's no way that can happen. He'll override people's heart to some degree and allow you to change your mind, allow you to think differently. Sometimes when you're in rebellion to God, he won't just take your rebellion and get rid of you. He'll allow you to suffer a little bit and help you get your mind right so that things will change. And so here, he wants to save humanity, but everybody's wicked, so he saves Noah. He saves Noah, and he puts Noah on the ark that Noah has to make now. Noah is 500 years old when he has his sons. And the ark is finished, and he departs about when he's 600. So he's got about 100 years where he's got a life's work, where he's building this ark for a flood when they've never had rain up to this point on the planet. So you got to know that people think he is actually certifiable. He's nuts. But he's not. He's doing exactly what God's called him to do. And when you're doing what God's called you to do, sometimes it doesn't make any sense, but you keep doing what God's called you to do. Be faithful to the things of God. Study your word and be a reflection of Yeshua in the earth. And so Noah does, and a year, he spends nearly 100 years building it, and he's in the doggone ark for a year. And then it finally lands on some dry ground, and he removes the cover, and he gets out. Verse 15 of Genesis chapter 8. Genesis 8:15. And God spoke to Noah, come out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out all the living creatures that are with you, birds and livestock, verse 17, those that crawl on the earth, and they will spread over the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. You heard that phrase before when God created us in his image, his command, his blessing, be fruitful and multiply. So he gives that again to Noah and his descendants, be fruitful and multiply. So Noah, verse 18, along with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives came out. All the animals, all the creatures that crawl and all the flying creatures, everything that moves on the earth, came out of the ark by their families. And Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of every kind of clean animal and every kind of clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma. Just, do you know that your offerings, when you sacrifice to give something to the Lord, it brings God joy. It pleases God that you would honor and bless and do something nice for somebody else. So I was talking about during this crisis for us on the planet, this pandemic, and as people are giving and serving, it just brings great honor to the Lord through your sacrifice and your giving. It means a lot. Even though you're thinking, well, what difference does it make? It makes a lot of difference. You make a phone call or send a text message or a call, or you give somebody something, or you don't make a donation, or you sacrifice to give so that we can continue to work to reach out to other people on your behalf. It's a big deal to God. It's pleasing to him. He says, I will never again curse the ground because of human beings. Never again. I've done this and it's not going to happen again. Even though the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth onward, I will never again strike down every living thing as I have done. That's the heart of God. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease. So it's just perpetual. And there's processes. As long as there's summer and winter, you know that we're in it. It's going to be okay. It's just a season. That's why sometimes when the crisis you can get into in your own life, this is over, I'm not going to make it. You are going to make it. You are going to make it. The earth's going to continue on. It's not the end of days. Somebody told you the earth is coming to an end and all humanity will be destroyed. Not yet. Time appointed, it's not this time. We're going to continue to move on, and God's favors is with us, and he's going to bless us and strengthen us and encourage us, because that's the way he is. That's the way God is. He loves you. He's for you. He's not against you. He'll always be for you. So be at peace. So the earth goes on, and things continue to churn. And life begins to move forward, and things that happened before happen. Genesis 10:1 says this in the book of Genesis 10:1. I'll just read this one verse in Genesis and we'll go on. It says, these are the family records, Genesis 10:1, of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They also had sons after the flood. So the flood is over. The Bible is going to jump into with the family records of Noah, and it gives the records of his sons, and it's really kind of like the table of nations. And you see they're repopulating the whole planet, and people start talking about where certain people groups begin to move on the planet and how they're functioning on the planet. And the planet is full from Noah and his family. Now Noah, I've heard it said, people gave me a little grief because he comes out, plants a vineyard, and has some wine and gets drunk, and it's probably not proper behavior, and it is not. I agree with that. But dude, the hope everybody dies, man. Everybody on the planet dies except for him and his family and the animals that he keeps. I mean, he's just, that's a hard place, man. And then when it rains for 40 days and you're in a boat for a year, that's a hard place. It's just a hard place. So, but the whole planet's populated again through Noah and his sons, and nations are birthed, and people groups come out, and migration and movement, and all the things that we have now come out of that experience. But I want to pick up the story in Genesis 11. Now I want you to see us a key here for life, and then we'll close. Genesis 11:1 says the whole earth had the same language and vocabulary. Genesis 11:1. The whole earth had the same language and the same vocabulary. As people migrated from the east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to each other, in verse 3 of Genesis 11, "Come, let us make oven-fired bricks." They used brick for stone and asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky," a skyscraper, so to speak. "Let us make a name, a character, and authority." In other words, name means character and authority. "Let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered throughout the earth." Then the Lord came down to look over the city and the tower that the humans were building. And the Lord said, "If they have begun to do this as one people, all having the same language, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language so that they will not understand one another's speech." So from there, the Lord scattered them throughout the earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore, it is called Babylon, for there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them throughout the earth. So here you get a picture of a secret here that is kind of used counterproductively. The people are gathered and they're making a tower, and they're making this tower, and so that they're really studying the planetary movements and the stars, and more to worship that which is created than the creator. Let me just say it like that. So God comes down and he sees it and he says, "Enough of that." And he confuses their language. Now here's the deal. I'm just telling you a secret in terms of effective communication. You have to communicate in a style in which somebody who you're communicating to will accept. If they'll accept it and embrace it, then you have unity. If they won't accept it and they won't embrace it, you'll have discord. So if you're saying things that are bringing discord, is you need to change the method in which you're communicating, because your communication is not working, and your communication is just going to bring discord, and people will stop and go their own way. And so I'm just telling you personally, as a Christian, as a born-again believer who has some responsibility to bring other people into the kingdom of God, if the way that you're communicating to them is not effective, then you need to change the way you're communicating. You got to get on the same page, the same tongue, the same language, the same style. And you're going to draw who God has anointed you to draw. So draw them into your atmosphere, and don't be afraid to walk them through a relationship with Jesus Christ. But model it first. Model love, and model peace, and model kindness, and model grace, model faithfulness, and model humility, and all the things that God naturally is and has empowered us to be by his Holy Spirit. Model that for a while before you say to somebody, "Hey, you need to give your life to Jesus Christ." Just slow your roll, bro. That's going to happen. But let them see you first. Let them see how good you are and how good God is to you, and how wonderful your life is, and how good your family and your children. Let them see you give in ways that they've never seen anybody else give. Let them see you sacrifice and pray in a way nobody else has sacrificed and prayed before. Let them model and see the model that you are, and the reflection of Jesus that you are, so that they become hungry for that. So if they make a mistake, look the other direction. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to point out everybody's error and everybody's mistake, especially when they're young and they're growing and they're going to be subject to making mistakes. Young people make mistakes. Give them some passes. Let them, that's okay. Work around it. Don't be so demanding. Now, am I saying that you should not have justice and order? I am not saying that. You should have justice. You should have order. You should have righteousness. But let it be flavored with compassion and mercy and kindness. And you're finding that you could do more through unity than you can do through brokenness and rebellion. So when these people came together with one voice and one language and they worked together, the Lord himself says, man, there's nothing these guys can't do, so we're going to break them up. And I'm just saying to you, if under the banner of Christ, to doing what is right in God's sight, and you will devote yourself to doing what's right, then God will bless you. And he'll bless everything around you, and your whole house will be blessed, and your friends will be blessed, and your family will be blessed. And I bless you with that blessing, that you would do things God's way. And this is how we're learning. This is his way for us to operate so that we can always overcome. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for the faithfulness that you have always demonstrated to your sons and daughters. And we ask that we would be reflections of you to demonstrate that blessing to others. Help us to give and to serve and to honor and to strengthen and bring favor in the lives of those that are hurting or struggling or lost or just in a tough place. Let us be the beacon of hope to them and the source of blessing for them. In every way that you can bless us, Lord, we ask that you bless us. And I bless you in the name of Yeshua, that God would bless you and honor you and that you would always overcome in everything that you do. Look forward to seeing you again next week. Don't forget to give the first fruits that belong to the Lord. We're confident and faithful in doing that. You can text Overcomer to 77977 for push pay. It's an easy way to do that. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you over the weekend. We'll have a great time and stay safe, stay healthy, be strong. See you soon. Bye-bye.